Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Catholic bishops in the United States have expressed concern over the US Food and Drug Administration approving the oral contraceptive Opill to be sold over the counter without a doctor's prescription. Bishop Robert Barron of Winona Rochester, who chairs the American Episcopate's Committee for Laity, Marriage, Family Life and Youth, said that allowing this hormonal contraceptive to be sold over the counter while ignoring its side effects and without the guidance of a physician breaches the Hippocratic Oath. The American Medical Association and the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists have been pushing for this pill to be sold over the counter for some years. However, the prelate said that claims that this approach has more advantages than disadvantages are unfounded, especially in light of overwhelming evidence of the negative effects hormonal contraception has on women's health. The Vatican Secretary for Relations with States and International Organizations has emphasized Pope Francis's efforts in advancing peace worldwide, particularly in Ukraine. Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher was speaking at the launch of the new issue of an Italian magazine, Limes, which includes articles related to the Russian war in Ukraine. In its issue entitled Ukrainian Lessons, the prelate describes the Holy Father's stance on the war and interpretations of the Pope's words and gestures. The English prelate points out how the papal gestures are often rejected and vilified, rather than accepted and supported. However, he says that Pope Francis's actions and words are a powerful and brave prophecy that challenge the reality of war. The European Parliament has requested that the Indian government take urgent steps to restore calm in the northeastern state of Manipur, which is being rocked by communal violence. The call comes in reaction to violent clashes between the predominantly Christian Kuki tribe and members of the Hindu Meitei community. At least 120 people have been killed, while around 50,000 people have been displaced so far. Over 1,700 homes and 250 churches have also been damaged. A European Parliament resolution has also demanded that India's government take on the impunity enjoyed by mobs perpetrating violence. Advocates for human rights have long drawn attention to the dire state of human rights in India, including laws and policies that severely restrict the liberties of minority religious groups. A human rights organisation has said that at least 346 people were killed within 3 months in 8 local government areas in Nigeria's Plateau state. According to the Gideon and Funmi Paramalam Peace Foundation, the killings happened between April the 17th and July the 10th. The founder and executive director of the Christian organisation stated that there are currently 14 camps housing over 18,000 internally displaced people in the state. The rights group is also demanding the intervention of government authorities. Meanwhile, the Catholic faith in the most populated country in Africa remains vibrant in spite of persecution. On the 8th of July, the Onitsha Archdiocese was blessed with 16 new priests. Archbishop Valerian Maduka Okeke presided over the ordination ceremony at the Basilica of the Most Holy Trinity. Democrat lawmakers in the California State Assembly came under fire this week for preventing the passage of a bill that would have made child trafficking a serious felony. Introduced by Republican Senate member Shannon Grove, Senate Bill 14 would have added human trafficking of a minor to the definition of a serious felony, warranting life imprisonment or the death penalty. Although it was passed in the Senate earlier this year, it got stalled in the Assembly Public Safety Committee. However, the bill has been given reconsideration status, meaning it can come up for a vote again. On the other hand, Governor Gavin Newsom said that he was working to revive the bill and see that it is passed by the legislature. The issue of child trafficking is in the limelight against the backdrop of the hit movie Sound of Freedom, which is about a former federal agent who resigns his job to save children from sex trafficking in Colombia. A federal appeals court in the American state of Indiana has declared that religiously affiliated schools are free to select administrators who support their fundamental religious views. The 7th Circuit Court dismissed a lawsuit filed by Shelley Fitzgerald after her contract as co-director of guidance at a Catholic high school in Indianapolis wasn't renewed. Fitzgerald sued the Roncalli High School and the Archdiocese of Indianapolis when her contract was not renewed after she entered into a same-sex union. However, the court dismissed her claim, holding that the Constitution prohibits the government from meddling in a religious school's decision over who would teach the next generation of believers. In the United States, House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan issued a subpoena to the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation on Monday. This comes amid the investigation launched by House Republicans about a withdrawn memo issued by the FBI's Richmond field office focusing on Catholic groups. Jordan and his team are probing how the administration weaponized the Bureau to target Catholics who were branded as extremists. According to Jordan, the memo suggests that the FBI targeted certain Catholic groups and branded them as domestic terrorists. He also accused the FBI of planting sources in Catholic houses of worship to monitor and report on parishioners. When the contents of the memo were leaked, the Bureau removed it from its systems and conducted a review. The subpoena comes after the investigating agency produced 18 pages from an initial voluntary request made in February. A special online prayer meeting has been organised by the initiative Action Give Life to Nicaragua for the release of Bishop Rolando Alvarez of Matagalpa, who has been imprisoned by the Daniel Ortega regime. They called on all Nicaraguans in the country and in exile to join in a crusade of prayer for Bishop Alvarez on Sunday, July the 16th, which is the feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. The bishop has emerged as a symbol of sacrifice and defiance against tyranny in Nicaragua. Bishop Alvarez was put behind bars on foisted charges of sedition. The International Criminal Court informed the United Nations on Thursday that it is looking at a surge in hostilities in Sudan's Darfur region since mid-April, including reports of killings, rapes and crimes harming minors. A power battle between the Sudanese regular army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has been ongoing in the country's capital city Khartoum and other areas since the middle of April. Over 3 million people have been displaced, including over 700,000 who have escaped to nearby countries. According to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Sudan is on the verge of a full-scale civil war that could destabilise the surrounding area. On Thursday, the US House of Representatives voted to disapprove the Defense Department's policy of permitting service members to cross state borders to get an abortion and have their travel expenses reimbursed. House members voted by 221 to 213 in favour of Congressman Ronnie Jackson's bill. The Defense Department adopted this policy soon after the US Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last year. Jackson accused the department of setting out to sidestep the court ruling and circumvent the law wherever possible. He added that the Biden administration was urging federal agencies to bring out policies that expand abortion access and also burden taxpayers in an attempt to subsidise abortion. Prefect for the Dicastery for Culture and Education, Cardinal José Tolentino de Mendonça, has highlighted the role that Catholic colleges play in embracing artificial intelligence. He made this observation during a scientific colloquium at the Catholic University of the Sacred Heart in Milan. The Cardinal urged colleges to embrace AI and digital technologies while taking ethical considerations into account. The programme was held under the auspices of the Strategic Alliance of Catholic Research Universities. Cardinal de Mendonça spoke of the need for Catholic universities to be innovators and to embrace new trends. He also emphasised the value of engaging with current issues and encouraging ongoing renewal. The second edition of the Human Rights Film Festival in The Hague in the Netherlands is focusing on the rights and sufferings of women worldwide. The hardships of women belonging to Tajik, Yazidi, Ahmadi, Pakistani, Uyghur and other ethnicities in China, Pakistan and the Middle East were depicted in the annual film festival organised by the Global Human Rights Defence. One of the festival's top exhibits was Tajik director Lolisanam Ulugova's documentary Farangis. It explores the experiences of Farangis Kasimova, who is a prima ballerina at the State Academic Opera and Ballet Theatre of Tajikistan. In the narrative, she tries to shatter societal stereotypes in Tajikistan that view professional women as morally depraved. A documentary on Mother Teresa of Calcutta arrived in theatres across the United States on Friday. Entitled The Miracles of Mother Teresa Dawn in Calcutta, the documentary is being shown in the United States through the Regal Cinemas chain. The movie is directed by Jose Maria Zavala and focuses on the testimonies of people who knew the mother and her service to the poor. It was also released in Spain and in some Latin American countries. Born to Albanian parents in what is now North Macedonia, Mother Teresa came to India as a Loreto nun to teach in a school. However, the plight of the destitute and the homeless moved her to leave her congregation and establish the Missionaries of Charity in 1950 to care for the poorest of the poor. After her death in 1997, she was canonised on the 4th of September in 2016. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again next time for more, and do remember you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.